responsible for digital banking at Geidea. For the non-Arab speakers out there, Maseeh means Messiah. And unfortunately, I don't have any healing powers, but I hope that I can share some insights with you today on some of the tools that you can use to enhance your customer engagement within a digital banking environment. I'm pleased to be joined today by my colleague Laurent, who looks after our financial services department, and Laurent will give us some insights a bit later on into some of the exciting things that Geidea is doing with non-banks and to make a few announcements as well. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at some of the unique experiences that banks can develop through multiple platforms. I think it can... Thank you. I think in terms of experiences, it's often said that our experiences shape our perception, and that perception can become a reality. So the reality of the world in which we live in today is that customers are comparing us to these entities. They're not comparing banks to banks, but they're comparing us to entities that have a secret source. And what is that source? That source is really that they are able to remove the pain points in terms of engaging with the brand. Customers want instant access to information, instant access to services. Think Amazon. They want transparent information to be available all the time. When I'm booking my Uber ride, I know exactly beforehand how much I'm going to be paying for that ride. When I'm on Netflix, my experience is very personalized. And when I'm using Instagram or Airbnb, I know I can access it anywhere, at any time, in any part of the world. So consumer behavior is changing, and consumer demand is evolving. If you think about Netflix as an example, I'm pretty sure everybody here in the audience uses the platform. And Netflix has got a very unique, a very simple feature that allows you to start watching on one device and then to stop and to continue watching on another device. And in the technology world, that's called an omni-experience. So if you think about Uber, I mentioned earlier on the removal of pain points and the creation of this frictionless user experience. And it's really more about engaging with the customer to a point where Uber understands your behavior. So when I travel from Dubai to Riyadh, for example, when I get off at the airport and I open up the Uber app, I don't actually have to think too much again about inputting the location that I want to go. So Uber remembers that I travel to the Geidea office every week or throughout the month, and it offers me the first option on that app is the Geidea location. So customers expect immediate and instant service, and this is no different from the experience that customers want to have with banks today. The other thing that we have to bear in mind is the competitive landscapes for banks is evolving, and it's evolving very, very fast. We heard earlier on about challenger banks. We heard about digital banks. We heard about the threat of the need to reach out to your corporate customers and your commercial customers. But we haven't yet spoken, and I'm sure a lot of speakers later on will talk about challenges from third parties, from tech fins, from fintechs, but also the smaller players that help us to aggregate services within banking. So it's not only about the big players, but as a banking customer, I don't only manage a bank account. I've got potentially lending products that I need to take care of. I've got insurance. I've got so many different banking products that I need. And I need my bank, or I need somebody to be able to aggregate those services for me. So the landscape in terms of how banking services are delivered is changing phenomenally. Customers no longer go to the branch as often as they used to in the past. If you think 10, maybe 15 years ago, a lot of the time, a lot of the experiences were driven by personal human interaction. So customers would walk into the branch and then they would get personalized experience. Today, very, very few retail customers specifically are going to the branch. We have mobile banking apps. We have call center apps, we have digital kiosks that are there to service those retail requirements. So the channel mix within the banks are evolving as well. Customers expect different things from different channels, and they expect, the one thing that they do expect is a consistent user experience across all channels. So in order to get inspiration, we often need to look at what the industry giants are doing, how they are tackling these challenges, and Amazon and Netflix and Uber, these are classic examples. Amazon is very good at aggregating products from all across the world. They're very good at offering you instant shopping and instant delivery. So they've put a lot of thought into how to create seamless user experiences within their different platforms. And we need to ask, what would somebody like Jeff Bezos do if he were running a bank? One of the things that banks can look at doing is understanding, again, the channel mix. We really need to get into the habit of developing a channel mindset, an omni-channel mindset. If you think about the past, we started off with a single channel, maybe 15, 20 years ago, which was the bank branch. Everybody went to the bank branch. Eventually, banks started introducing additional channels, such as mobile, such as online banking. But again, it was always a bottom-up approach. So what tended to happen is they would always start at the back with the core banking system or some other system, and then they would build these mini silos across their channels. So the mobile banking had a system, the online banking had a system. And eventually, banks realized that they needed the brand to be consistent, so they moved from a multi-channel to a cross-channel perspective. But all they did in the process was they brought the UI to the front. So they made the brand experience a bit better, meaning that the brand was consistent on the channel, but they still maintained functional silos behind the scenes. So if you look at research that's gone into the field now, what we will see is that banks will start to move from this island philosophy into an omni-channel banking philosophy, and it really, really starts at the customer experience. Again, going back to Uber and Netflix and all of these companies, what they've managed to do is they've really managed to tap into what the customer wants before what the IT or the bank systems need. The customer journey is really the most important part. The ability to seamlessly move from one device to another device, from one channel to another channel, to continue with a consistent brand experience and a holistic customer view. This is something that many banks today have not yet figured out how to do. And they really, really need to start looking at the customer experience layer. Start building out the blocks that creates a fast and frictionless experience, a superior experience across all of your channels. And think about fintech as a customer solution. How do you onboard customers? How do you engage with customers in a way that is more experience focused? A small example of that is onboarding. We saw the gentleman from Live earlier on speak about how the digital bank does it, and he really nailed some of those pain points where we need to remove some of the frictions that we have in terms of reaching out, the conversational dialogue that we're having with the customer. So typically an onboarding experience either happens in the branch or it happens online, and then that experience is not very consistent, it's not seamless, it's not carried across in terms of our other channels. What we need to do is we need to have everything embedded in a seamless dialogue with our customers. Everything needs to be focused about really shifting the focus from the back to the front. And how do we do that is it's really a paradigm shift. And that paradigm shift starts off with the customer. The customer is the focal point. And by investing in automation, what we need to do is we need to take a top-down approach. Some additional ideas in terms of how to add to that mix is create an integrated digital human experience. In terms of your infrastructure, in terms of your operations, everything needs to be automated, everything needs to be focused on the customer. We've been investing a lot at Geidea in terms of looking at automation and how we can seamlessly tap out to the customers, not just from a banking perspective, but also from a retail perspective, from an operational perspective. And my colleague Laurent will introduce a few ideas of how non-banks can play in this space as well.
Thank you, Maseeh. Hello, welcome to all. Yeah, what I thought I would like to do with you for a few minutes is to continue in this quest to understand what the right models are and try to explore what the non-banks are doing, right? And let me just see if this clicker works. Right, so the game is a big game and the game is changing. There are more players than ever and there are multiple ways to play the game, right? Can the non-banks actually disrupt all this industry? Well, actually, I believe so, right? When you think about the recent introduction by Apple of their new credit card, how different is that? Well, from a card perspective, probably not that different. The problem is that, or not the problem, their advantage is that they're not offering a credit card for the sake of offering a credit card. They embed that in a much deeper experience. And as a result, they actually don't even charge fees for their credit card. So how disruptive is that for the industry? It's actually pretty damaging for those whose business model are based on their fees. Big players like Uber obviously have completely changed the experience about booking a cab. And part of that was removing the friction that was related to the payment. And we can see that payment is an excellent way to move into more banking services. But beyond those guys, you also have a couple of interesting use cases. I mean, the not so recent anymore acquisition of Whole Foods by Amazon and the release of the Amazon Go kind of product was, again, a fully different experience, seamless payment. And it wouldn't take too much to move from that sort of payment offering to a full banking offering. You have the data, you have the customer, you have the network, and you have the tech. So what exactly would you be missing? Regionally, I think there are some interesting cases as well in Saudi, for example, where one of our partner, Extra, is venturing into a financing kind of arm based on the data they have from the consumers. This, again, is transformative. And then there's an interesting dynamic. On the one hand, you have extreme fragmentation, specialization, where every single dot in the value chain is taken care of by a zillion fintech companies. And at the same time, you see a couple of equally interesting models that are centralizing all of that, right? So when you look at, I mean, we discussed WeChat earlier. There's other examples with Alipay. Another group like Rakuten in Japan is doing that through more loyalty side. And so actually there really are multiple ways to play this game. And it is with great pleasure that I'm happy to announce a strategic partnership between Aramex and Geidea, where essentially we're trying to do our best to also change the experience for the merchants on the one hand and for consumers on the other hand. They should be able to pay exactly the way they want for their e-commerce purchases, for their in-store purchases, be able to prepay, post-pay, pay in cash, pay by card, all of that absolutely seamlessly. And we're very happy and eager to start engaging on that journey. Thank you very much.